Late July is usually the actual start of the NBA offseason. And what I mean by that is an emphasis on off. The NBA draft was a month ago. Summer League wrapped up. The big signings for free agency, usually already done with. But the new CBA has a lot of things messed up right now. And if you are a Warriors fan, you understand that front and center because of the Jonathan Kuminga conundrum. The Warriors remain the only team yet to make a move in free agency. We know that they have remained connected to Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton. Expect them both to be in Warriors jerseys next season, but nothing is really happening until the Warriors can figure out the restricted free agency part of Jonathan Kuminga that continues in limbo right now between his camp, the Warriors, and trying to figure out what will be a complicated sign-in trade. So, with that, let's find something else to talk about. And what I want to talk about are the rookies. And what I mean by that actually are the two Warriors draft picks because Summer League did come to a conclusion. I talked with Summer League head coach Lane Wilson, who will begin his first season as the Warriors G League affiliate head coach in Santa Cruz this season. Did two different stories. One about just why the Warriors are still really confident in Alex Toohey and Will Richard, the two draft picks, as well as how Lane Wilson's long journey in Summer League lessons have him ready to feel like he can roam the sidelines in Santa Cruz with confidence. Check those both out at NBCSportsBayArea.com. Let's get into the rookies right now. Alex Tui and Will Richard, my conversation with Lane Wilson. So right away, the stats. Both players played 6 games between the California Classic at Chase Center and Summer League in Las Vegas. Tui stat line, 21 and a half minutes per game, 6.8 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, 1.2 steals per game. He only shot 26.2% from the field, 11 of 42 overall, 23.5% from three-point range, 4 of 17. But he also made it to the free throw line 21 times, made 15. That's a 71.4% clip. The first thing that Lane Wilson said to me talking on the phone about these two guys was, the story's not written yet. It's July. One example that the Warriors love using when it comes to Summer League, when it comes to evaluation with some of these guys, and I think it fits in well with Alex Tui and Will Richard, is Brandon Podziemski. Because when they selected Brandon Podziemski, number 19 overall in the 2023 draft, he had a rough first showing in Summer League. The shot just wasn't there. He didn't look like an athlete that could sustain, the next level in the NBA. He didn't look like he was up to par with that. However, it's Summer League, which is really hard to evaluate at times because let's even look at the Warriors Summer League roster that had 19 players, 18 who were actually healthy enough to play, all but 4 were rookies without any NBA experience. So you have guys that are trying to make an impression on the Warriors, either for the actual NBA team or for the G League team. But really guys who are trying to make an impression all around the league. So that's what makes it hard to evaluate because as a coach for someone like Lane, you're trying to put in some team concepts with still making things very, very simple. You only have so many practices. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, how do I get the best out of these players for themselves, but also for the team? The front office is telling you certain players aren't going to be playing on certain games. So it's complicated. It's not that easy to evaluate. That's why they go back to really scouting, really looking at the video, really looking at the intangibles, the small things. And that's what they point out with Alex Tui, with Will Richard. And I want to talk about Tui right now because I brought up the stats and they weren't great by any means. So what actually stood out when it comes to Alex Tui? Number one, the basketball IQ definitely did stand out. This is someone you watch him on defense and he is talking. He's talking on the bench. He's talking on the defensive end, pointing out where guys should be, helping everybody out. A smart basketball player. And that's where I go back to, if you're going to draft a 2021-year-old, why not make it someone who played professionally for 2 seasons in Australia in the NBL, played for the Sydney Kings, has that connection with Andrew Bogut. I spoke with Bogut, wrote about that as well, where Bogut kept talking about this is someone who is very stoic, very focused, isn't going to be rattled by any means. And that's why he believes that Alex Tui can fit the system with the Warriors, but also fit Steve Kerr. Andrew Bogut said to me, Alex Tui is not someone who is going to need everything around him to fit in. He's going to figure out a way to fit in. And that's the team player. That's the professionalism that the Warriors see in Alex Tui. He's 6'8", looks like a legit 6'8", 6'9", 6'11" wingspan. Bogut told me he sees him as a 3-4, but someone who can even guard down to a 2 or guard up to a 5 if needed. Play a little bit of small ball 5. He thinks that the versatility, the kind of the tweenerness of Alex Tui can really help him out in this Warriors system. The shot, as we brought up, wasn't falling in Summer League, and that was a little bit of a concern going into the draft because I believe he only shot 31.5% from three-point range his final season in Australia. But then at the draft process, at the combine, you can see the mechanics are there. For someone who's 6'8", he can shoot the ball. That'll come along. It's everything else that's already there that the Warriors believe in. And I want to bring up Will Richard now because, yes, watching it in person, watching him on TV, fans, media, scouts, personnel, it certainly looks like Will Richard is more ready for the NBA than Alex Tui. But understandably so. Yes, Alex Tui did play professionally the last 2 seasons in the NBL, which are different athletes, different kind of game style, different kind of game play when it comes to the NBA. He's 21 years old. He turned 21, I believe, in May. A recent 21-year-old. He was the youngest player in the NBL on his team both seasons. Played as a 19 and 21-year-old for the full season, right? Then you look at someone like Will Richard. Will Richard is a 4-year player in college, the final 3 at Florida, a national champion at Florida. He'll be 23 years old in December. I bring up the readiness, the experience, because let's talk about the last 2 years, especially, right? Because Alex Tui is playing 2 years in Australia while Will Richard is playing for the Florida Gators. All right, so in these last 2 years, Alex Tui played a combined 1,266 minutes in the NBL. In Will Richard's senior year at Florida, he played 40 games and played 1 fewer minute than the 2 years that Alex Tui played in the NBL. Will Richard played 1,265 minutes as a senior at Florida. That's just a lot of gameplay. And it showed in Summer League. His stats now, 23.8 minutes per game, 11.5 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.8 steals per game. Steal rate, it really translates from the college game to the NBA game. That's a big reason that the Warriors were very high on Will Richard. Shot 42.5% from the field, 25 of 59, only 20.7% from three-point range. But the Warriors are not concerned about that three-point shot. Let's talk about why. Number one, the 4 years of college. He wound up, I believe, as a 35.5% shooter from three-point range. And every year, he was 35, 36, 37, 38. He's going to be a mid to high 30s guy while doing all the other thing and being a very, very, very aggressive defender. You can see him having a little bit of GP2 in him, a little bit of D'Anthony Melton in him, where he's 6'4", 6'5", but he has that 6'8" wingspan, where he wants to get right up on you, get under you as a defender, use the swipe down, use the quick hands that he has defensively. Another guy who, of course, just understands team basketball, right? He's not going to be a one-on-one player. That three-point shot, really quick release. He's not afraid to shoot it, but he didn't take bad shots. And I go back to why they are not concerned about it. And it's not just the 4 years shooting from three-point range in college. It's the fact that he was such a good free throw shooter in college as well. When you see a high free throw percentage, you can see the touches there and that coaches feel like they can coach that up from long distance, from beyond the arc. The three-pointers should come for Will Richard. And in Summer League, 13 of 14 from the free throw line. That's a 92.9% clip. that's the kind of shooter that they think that Will Richard can be while being just an absolute defensive pest. So it's the experience that Will Richard has these last 4 years, the last 2 years, while Alex Toohey was in the NBL, that I think gives him a leg up right now. So it'll be interesting to see which way the Warriors go, because my expectation, my assumption is that one of these draft picks will get a two-way contract, rounding out the three two-way contracts, most likely with one of the draft picks, Taron Armstrong again, and Jackson Rowe again. So that leaves one of the draft picks most likely also having a standard contract on the 15-man roster. I think both of them are going to spend time in the G League playing and developing more and more under Lane Wilson. But it's all the intangibles that they're really high on still, that they believe in. And their whole thing is, why go out and draft someone that maybe was the man in college, right? Especially when we're talking about second round picks for an older team like the Warriors, and a team that has superstars, a team that has Steph Curry, has Jimmy Butler. Yeah, I was high on going out and getting a bucket shooter, but they might have seen a bucket getter, I should say, a big time shooter, but they might have seen that bucket getter as a one trick pony, which is not what they see in Alex Tui or Will Richard. Talking with Lane Wilson, his whole thing was, with these young guys, with a second round draft pick, do you really want to start your career off and you get a small stint, 3, 4, 5 minutes out there, and you go, I didn't make any open threes, I didn't get the ball enough, I couldn't impact the game anywhere else. That's not going to get you on the floor for a Steve Kerr. That's why somebody like Guy Santos, his development, I'm looking at that for someone like Alex Tui. As an international guy, a young guy, a second round draft pick, Guy Santos has completely transformed his game and transformed his body since the Warriors picked him in the second round a couple years ago. Came from Brazil, total G League development guy. I think Tui could probably have a leg up because the NBL #1 is considered a higher level than where Guy Santos was playing in Brazil. And you can just see the way that he sees the game, the way that Alex Tui does. And that's what Steve Kerr loves about Guy Santos, is that he sees the game and he's not seeing it for himself. He's going to find a way to get Steph Curry an open shot. He might get 4 minutes and he might get you 4 offensive rebounds. They see both of those kind of mindsets in Alex Tui, in Will Richard. And I want to talk about one sequence. It was 3 straight possessions, essentially, at the end of the first half in a Summer League game for Alex Tui. He went right at Kyle Filipowski. This is a former big man Duke star who is going into his second year for the Utah Jazz. It was a very talented Utah Jazz team that the Warriors wound up beating in Vegas. Kyle Filipowski was the Summer League MVP this year, and Tui saw that as his target. Didn't back down, went right after him offensively, defensively, and he frustrated him so much that Kyle Filipowski threw him to the side at the end of the first half. The refs went back, reviewed it, just called it a common foul. Tui makes 1 of 2 free throws. But it's right there, the mind games. Andrew Bogut kept telling me, stoic, he's so focused. But that doesn't mean that he's going to back down from anybody. So they see 2 big-time competitors whose numbers might not have jumped off the page, but they both had some solid steal stats. They showed versatility offensively and defensively, and they showed that they didn't go out there to get theirs. They went out there to try to find the ways to play Warriors basketball and to impact winning, and that's the way that both of these players will find a way to help the Warriors out at some point, possibly as rookies this season.